The Golden State Warriors are just one win away from a world championship. They're fourth in 8 years. The dynasty continues, but they still got to win one more. And Brian Witt, who has been with me for this whole ride, former writer for the Golden State Warriors, former writer for NBC Sports Bay Area. I'm going to implore him on today's show to create a Substack so we can continue writing and make some money off it. And because we need some great content out there, Brian. And you've done it before, and I think you can continue doing it. But that's a side note. We're going to talk Warriors. We're going to preview a game 6 that is the magnitude of it is just undescribable. It's huge.
It's a big one.
It's big. It's just no proper way, I think, to give a description. But we're going to break it down. Brian Witt, I think you have championship rings. I'm gonna ask you that actually when we start the show, because that alone just is mind blowing to me. But we're gonna break it all down. This is the preview show. This is the last show before Game 6, and let's hope when you see me again, we're gonna be talking about the Warriors being the new world champions of the NBA. But we're gonna have to break it down.
Sounds
and we're gonna do so next. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by Arcade One Up. Locked On is partnering with Locked On is partnering with Arcade One Up to give away 3 NBA JAM Shaq machines. Stay tuned for later in the show to learn how to enter. You can follow Brian Witt on Twitter at Witnessed with an extra T in there to represent his last name. You can follow me, Cyrus Saatsaz, on Twitter at DogSurfRocho. Brian, we are here. It's technically a game away, but this is the last show we're going to be producing before Game 6 tips off. Give us your initial feedback, your initial thoughts on just what has led to where we are now and what you think is going to happen in Game 6.
Yeah, so I'm trying not to get ahead of myself here, right? Obviously, the job is not finished, and if any organization knows that all too well, it's the Warriors. Don't mean to bring back rough memories, but still fresh in my mind. But as I was sort of reliving the aftermath of Game 5 the other night, I was just kind of struck by the unlikelihood that the Warriors season took the path that it did. I had hoped that the Warriors would be able to get back to this stage. I certainly believed, that with a healthy core of Steph, Klay, and Draymond, having seen firsthand for so many years what they were able to accomplish, I had supreme confidence in their ability to revive the franchise.
Right.
Having said that, I don't know if I really truly believed that they would be able to get within, as of now, one game of winning their 4th title in 8 years. And it's really just quite an amazing accomplishment. I mean,
absolutely.
You can look at the journey in terms of events that have taken place. You can go back to the end of the 2019 finals when Durant and Klay had those horrible injuries. And, throughout NBA history, there aren't many examples. Throughout professional sports history, there aren't many examples of franchises that have endured that kind of hardship to their top performers and return to an elite level within a couple of years. And granted, the couple of years in between were not close to elite, But I think that adds to the magnificence of this season that they've had. You can look at the composition of the roster and how much or little they've gotten out of guys that they were or maybe weren't counting on. I mean, they have 2 teenagers on the team, plus James Wiseman occupying a roster spot. That doesn't happen where you're the best team in the league and you have 20% of your roster occupied by guys who are in their basically first NBA season. Klay didn't come back until midway through the year. Draymond was out a long time. It's really amazing. I just like I said, I don't want to get ahead of myself.
Right. I hear you, man. I hear you.
And they will if they don't win the championship, they'll say that it wasn't necessarily a full success. But just to be in this spot, I think really speaks to the quality of the organization and the talent that they have in that building and on the court. It's not just the guys that are putting the ball in the hoop. It's the guys that are, breaking down tape in the wee hours of the morning. It's the guys in the front office who are debating which guys are going to fit together the best.
Yes, it is.
So really just hats off to the Warriors for getting to this point. And I'm still cautiously confident that they're going to be able to finish it off. But really, yeah, I've been thinking a lot about just like I said, the unlikelihood that their season took the path that it did.
Yeah, absolutely. I wrote an article. I don't do much writing anymore. For a good probably 15 years of my life, I was, one of my jobs was writing, and I was, producing print content. And
I know the feeling.
Yeah, yes, you do. We'll talk about that in a moment. And one of the articles I wrote was a Warriors preview back in 2021, 2020. I'm sorry. This was a year 2 of the the whatever you want to call this little 2-year gap where the Warriors regrouped and re-energized and rebuilt in some ways. But I honestly thought that the Warriors could have been championship contenders even a year earlier if Kelly Oubre would have maximized his potential and his fit with his team. Because I do think I saw what Bob Myers saw in him, which is an incredible athletic player who at 6'8" could defend, could penetrate. His 3-point shooting statistically was actually fine. But then he came to the Warriors and it just showed that he just was not a fit for this system. He favored ISO ball. His shooting was streaky. He did not give the type of effort that is, symbolic of what the Warriors put out on a nightly basis. And then coupled with various injuries, coupled with the fact that players like Kent Bazemore and Brad Wanamaker became your starters or heavy minute guys, and that dream got crushed fast. But then when they came back this year, and you see players like Otto Porter Jr. added, I also saw Gary Payne II, and I saw greatness in that kid, and I call him a kid. He's like 29 now, but like a year and a half ago, like when he was playing late in the season last year, I think he showed a lot of people that he belongs on this team and that he belongs in the NBA and that he has tremendous value. Even having Andre Iguodala back, I thought was such a tremendous positive, even though he hasn't given the minutes that the Warriors were hoping for. His role on that bench as a mentor, almost as a calming presence for Draymond Green, has been invaluable. He really is. If anyone can kind of correct Draymond Green's mentality when he's starting to get overly emotional on the court, it's Andre. And to see them where they are now, it's just I mean, if you love the Warriors, this is just phenomenal. Me as a sports fan, going back to when I was a kid, if there's one thing I've truly found appreciation for, and if it's something I really love, it's dynasties. I love organizations and teams and individuals that, put that extra commitment in, because it's so special to form a dynasty, given how difficult it is. It's the hardest thing to accomplish in sports. And even teams like the Yankees, who people hate, I don't, they're not my team. I don't root for them, but I respect the hell out of them. I love them for, I know, but I respect them so much I mean, not in recent years, but just for the longevity. Obviously, I grew up with the 80s, 90s San Francisco 49ers, and I got spoiled rotten, but I also saw firsthand what it takes to create something that unique and special, which is a dynasty. Brian, I don't know what your age is. I don't know if you remember Michael Jordan's Chicago Bulls in the 1990s and the level of greatness they achieved. I mean, Michael Jordan to me is hands down the GOAT. I don't see anyone approaching his level of greatness, just in the sense of never losing in the NBA Finals and making players who are great in their own regard never reach their full potential because of just how much better he was. There's a list of dynasties you can think of, and like the Warriors, if they win this game on Thursday night, tomorrow night, we're recording this on Wednesday, June 15th at 11:24 a.m. I really do think the Warriors are going to be in that discussion with the 60s Celtics, with the 80s Lakers, with the 90s Bulls, and with the 2000 and 2010 San Antonio Spurs. The Warriors are about to enter that elite group. That is the pendulum of greatness. And what we are witnessing here is just so special. And when the series started, I was telling people in terms of predictions, my brain says Warriors in 5. My heart says Warriors in 7, just because I am emotionally connected to this team. And, I want them to win. So my heart is also emotionally conflicted here, because, you always expect the worst in life. At least I do a lot of times. Pessimism starts to run into your brain. But my brain just keeps telling me this is easily the best team in the NBA, and they're going to take care of business. I don't want to make any hard predictions, because to win in Boston twice is going to be such a difficult achievement. But I also do think the Warriors will do this in 6. I think they understand the magnitude of this. They've been there before in 2015 when they closed out the Cavaliers in 6. I'm seeing a lot of similarities there. I think in Game 5 in the first quarter, they showed themselves and the Celtics that when they bring that level of aggressiveness, they're unbeatable. And what they showed in that first quarter in Game 5 with Stephen Curry's shooting struggles was just exemplary. It was just marvelous. I can rave forever about it. So
that was their best defensive quarter in years.
Absolutely.
In a long time.
Absolutely right, man. And if they can do that, and I think they can, I think they're going to win Game 6 and put this away. I don't think the Warriors want to even think about a potential Game 7, just because in a winner game take all scenario, anything could happen. A fluke can reward a team a world championship, and I don't think the Warriors want to see themselves in that position. So, we're going to break this down a lot more. I want to first give some love to a longtime sponsor of ours, PrizePicks, and Brian, I'd like to get you involved, because I've been talking about PrizePicks, excuse me, and how it's really become like a source of entertainment for me, just in the sense of how fun it could be. So I'm going to share my screen to show you my PrizePicks account. I've been so afraid in this series that I've not been making bets, but I've certainly been entertaining them. And the premise for PrizePicks is super easy. And look, I'm in California, and I was able to create an account here, which is awesome. It's sort of gambling. It's sort of not. I mean, you are putting money at risk here, but it's all about betting over unders on individuals. And you could bet over unders on points, assists, rebounds, a combination of points, rebounds, and assists, their fantasy score, 3-pointers made. These are new stats here. 3-pointers made in the first 6 minutes. So, and then you just bet the over under, and you got to make a minimum of 2 picks. So for example, in Game 6, you can bet an over under of 28.5 for Stephen Curry. You could bet an over or under on Klay Thompson, 19.5. We're talking Game 6 Klay. I think that's a solid over. Brian, while you're looking at my screen, if anything sticks out to you, please let me know, because that Klay Thompson OU looks phenomenal. 19.5. I'm loving that. Andrew Wiggins. Go ahead. Sorry, please jump in at any point. Anything look good?
I as much as I expect Steph to bounce back from his poor shooting performance in Game 5, as you pointed out, it is Game 6, and look, I can't explain it, but Klay just becomes a different animal when it's Game
crazy.
6, and I just there are some other factors. Like the Warriors are due; they've been due for a good 3-point shooting game. I've got some
Correct.
stats that I can throw to you in a bit, and so just the longer the series goes on, the more you expect that to finally occur. And I do think that the Warriors, due to their prior finals experience, are going to come into this game with a killer instinct, and
Yes.
they've been in this kind of environment before, and so of those options in terms of points, the Klay looks appetizing to me, and then
Oof.
I don't know if it's just solely individual or if there's team total options,
Individual.
but yeah,
As weird as it's
yes.
individual. Yeah.
So I would probably look into those 3-point props too,
Ooh,
just
let's look at
because, like
those.
I said,
Here we go. So Steph, so Klay, you're right, and that's another one. All you got to do is bet on a minimum of 2 of them. So if you bet on the Klay over with points and the Klay over on 3-pointers made, which is 3.5, I do think that's a relatively safe bet. I'm not encouraging it. I can't promise anything. I am not Nostradamus, but that does look like a damn good pick. Continue on, please, Brian. Sorry.
well, I think one thing you can count on is that Clay's going to keep shooting in Game 6, no matter what's going on, right? So if the Warriors are playing well and they're in the lead, chances are that means that the offense is performing well, and hopefully Clay's been a part of that. If for some reason that the game is getting away from the Warriors and it ends up ultimately being a blowout win for the Celtics, let's say, Clay's still going to have license to shoot away for at least the first 3.5 quarters, probably. So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, absolutely.
I that'd be something that I would look at.
No, I'm absolutely with you. One of the weird stats too that I was mentioning the last time we had a Prize Picks read was turnovers. Just because I feel like the Celtics are just, I mean, that is their kryptonite. Clearly, I mean, they can be careless with the ball, but at the same time, when I hear all this talk about the Celtic turnovers, we have to give the Warriors defense respect too. They're causing a lot of these turnovers with their hands, with Gary Payne's defense, Draymond Green's defense, Andrew Wiggins' defense, Stephen Curry's underrated defense. So the turnover number is something that sticks out to me as well, like the Jason Tatum 3.5. I could see that happening. The Draymond 2.5. You never know. That could go over. The point is, there's a lot of stats here. You can bet on assists even. Like Stephen Curry, I think it's a safe bet. He'll get over 5.5 assists. He'll get 6 or more, but who knows? But Prize Picks is fantasy made easy. It's a ton of fun. And again, all you have to do is just make a minimum of 2 picks and hope for the best. And for a limited time, Prize Picks has an exclusive no-brainer of an offer for all our users. Users get $50 for free if a player in your first Prize Picks entry scores just a single point, but you must use the code NBA. That's right. This is an exclusive offer available to Locked On fans. Sign up today and use the code NBA for $50 free if a player in your first Prize Picks entry scores just a single point.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. The ultimate NBA mock draft starts June 16th with over 50 insiders. Nothing equals the ultimate NBA mock draft. The Locked On NBA Big Board draft experts plus the Odyssey insiders are all a part of it. First pick is June 16th, so search ultimate NBA mock draft and follow now so you don't miss a pick. You can follow Brian Witt on Twitter at Witnessed, an extra T in there representing his last name. Brian, you said you had some incredible stats pertaining to 3-point shooting. I'm all ears. Go for it, please.
Oh yeah, let me see if I tweeted these out before Game 5, so they're not updated. But it'll speak to the how do the Warriors are to finally start making some threes,
Right.
because as we know, they did not shoot it well from three in Game 5, so these stats are actually even worse. So coming into Game 5, they were shooting only 25.9% on corner threes in the finals,
Right.
which is that would rank dead last in the NBA by a large margin during the regular season. It's roughly 10 percentage points below what they shot from the corners during the regular season and what they had shot from the corners through the first 3 rounds of the playoffs. So, it's not just whether this were a one series or during the regular season. These are numbers that you look at who's on the Warriors roster. You expect the corner three statistically is the highest rate 3-pointer. So naturally, you would expect that they would be able to start converting those at a higher rate. They didn't in Game 5. Hopefully that means that they're going to start falling in Game 6. I do think that they're going to need a pretty good 3-point shooting night in order to close it out on the road. The other one is coming into Game 5, they had only shot 33.3% on wide open threes, which is defined as the nearest defender is 6 feet or more away. So we're talking just no defense, no nothing, and they've only made a third of those 3-pointers going into Game 5, and they missed several more in Game 5. So that is, again, substantially lower than what they shot on wide open threes in the Western Conference playoffs. In the regular season, it would rank dead last in the NBA. So again, they've got the 2 greatest shooters in the history of the game.
Agreed.
It's it doesn't make sense that they're struggling so much on what you would imagine are the easiest 3-point shots. So
right.
I thought that was an opportunity for them as a way to win Game 5. They managed to win Game 5 despite not improving in those areas, which I think the Celtics really let one get away there. Not that the Warriors didn't deserve that win, but I just think the Celtics, if they lose this series, are really going to
I agree.
back on Game 5.
And just to piggyback off that, you're right. If the Celtics had any chance in this series, they needed to capitalize on that, and they failed to. And just to add perspective for these 3-point numbers that you're throwing out there, because I totally agree with you. It is not a matter of if, but I think it's a matter of when the Warriors revert back to the mean in terms of their 3-point shooting, and they did not do that in Game 5. They shot 9 for 40 for 22.5% shooting from beyond the arc. That is not going to continue. Stephen Curry, Andrew Wiggins, Otto Porter Jr. combined to go 0 for 17 from beyond the arc. That is not continuing. You continue on, please.
Well, and that's always a great way to win on the road, right? A 3-point variance tends to play a big factor, and
yes, sir.
They're going to have to find a way to find offense, in what is going to be probably the toughest environment they've played in all season long. So I do think the Warriors the Warriors finals experience factor has played more of a factor as the series has gone on. Obviously, It didn't play much of a factor in Game 1.
But it was a new opponent too, Brian. It was a new opponent. They had to figure these guys out, But I'm with you too.
But I think as we've seen the last couple games, particularly in the late game offenses, I think you can see that the Celtics have played a little tight, and maybe second guessing themselves a little bit, where the Warriors, I think, have been just they've been better prepared for those moments. And so I do wonder, if it's a close game midway through the fourth in game 6, how do the two sides react to that situation? Do the Celtics, having never been in this situation before, does it get to them even more? Do the Warriors capitalize on that? I'm really interested to see really how the Celtics in particular react to the stressful situation they're about to enter.
Absolutely right, man. And to veer sideways for a second here, not in a negative, but we got to pay bills. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting stats and sports information. Find all of the latest sports developments, news, and odds, including this year's NBA Finals, the NHL Hockey Conference Finals, Major League Baseball, and of course, all the latest fighting news from MMA and UFC to boxing. I'm on betonline.net right now, and the line has been consistent this entire series. The home team has always been favored by either 3.5 or 4.5. And for game 6, the Boston Celtics are favored to beat the Warriors by 3.5 points. The money line is minus 165 for the Celtics, plus 145 for the Golden State Warriors. The over-under 209.5. Any of those numbers stick out to you as something you would recommend, or are you like me and thinking, I have no idea? I don't know if I should touch that.
I personally will not be wagering on this game, but my general philosophy is that if you're moderately confident in the Warriors, you might as well go for the money line.
Absolutely.
Why not?
You're a smart man, sir. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. And I want to give some love as well to Arcade 1-Up. I mentioned them at the beginning of the show. This is actually a Thursday read, but since I started it, I got to finish it. You folks have a chance to get the Shaq edition of NBA Jam. It's back. This is a game that I personally loved playing as a kid. And Arcade 1-Up is giving away a NBA Jam Shaq edition to a Locked On listener. Enter for a chance to win a game console for your man cave at arcade1up.com/locked on. That's arcade, the number 1, up.com/locked on. You've got till July 8th to enter to win NBA Jam Shaq edition console. Don't miss out. Enter today. Who are you going to play with?
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. Make sure to go check out Locked On NBA Big Board. Host Rafael Barlow from NBA Draft Junkies and author of the NBA Big Board newsletter is joined by Richard Stamen, Sam Ferris, and Leif Thulin, giving fans an in-depth look into the NBA draft, mock draft, player rankings, and of course the big boards. It's free and available wherever you get podcasts. So is Brian Witt on Twitter. You can follow him on Twitter at Witnist, where I am going to implore you, Brian, to start your own Warriors column on Substack. The people want it. Give the people what you want. And plus, you can make some money off that as just a side income doing what you love. And just come on here and promote it every week, man. We'll talk Warriors. I hope you do so, man. I think that would be a phenomenal venture for you. By the way, Brian, when you're part of the Warriors, you actually got your own championship ring. Is that correct? And if so, how many of them do you have?
Yeah. So I have 3 championship rings.
Wow.
From 15, 17, and 18.
Wow.
They are probably my most prized possessions. As someone who
if a burglar came to you armed and said, either give me your baby or give me your 3 rings, what do you say?
You can have the rings. You can have the rings. But no, as someone
I'm
who
sorry, man. I would cherish those rings so much, dude. I'm so happy for you that you have that. That's some wild stuff.
As someone who grew up rooting for the Warriors through all the down years, who didn't know what it was like to even imagine that there would be days where the Warriors were atop the NBA. I mean, it just was not. You were just bombarded with year after year of hopelessness that it just was not something that you even imagined.
Oh yeah,
so
absolutely.
Being able to work for the team that I grew up rooting for was certainly a dream in itself. But to be a part of it for the greatest run in franchise history is, I mean, timing is everything in life. And I arrived with the Warriors in May 2012, right before they drafted Harrison Barnes, Festus Ezeli, and Draymond Green. Obviously, they've made a lot of key draft picks over the years, none bigger than Steph, obviously, Klay. But I always look at that draft as sort of the one that really, Steph and Klay were lottery picks. Draymond was the thing that tied it all together. And if they don't pick him in the second round, who knows what happens with the team? What do they? I don't know. Who knows? Could have been just more of the same old Warriors that I was used to growing up. So, so the great, in addition to just the experience of going through those championship seasons with the team and getting, to witness so much of it firsthand, all the employees, all the full-time employees got championship rings of their own. Granted, I don't have the same ring as Steph's.
I know,
okay?
yeah, I figured that.
It's
I figured that, but still,
some
I mean,
people always assume that. I'm like, no, and of course they deserved something much more extravagant. But nonetheless, they are nice to look at, and I don't wear them often. I might, if the Warriors complete this championship, whether it's tomorrow night or in Game 7, maybe I'll have a post-game old-fashioned and clink my rings against the glass.
bravo.
But it's just they're sort of something tangible that I can always look back on as sort of how lucky I was to be there when I was, and really just how special that portion of my life was for me, because sports, as you know, it's a very competitive industry, and it's not easy to get into, and you can end up anywhere, and it takes a lot of. Only one team wins every year, right? So I was incredibly lucky to witness everything that I did. No pun intended there with the last name, but and though I won't be getting a fourth championship ring if they win it this time, I'm just fine with that. I will be celebrating it, and also I tweeted this out, before the series started. But my old coworkers that are still with the Warriors, I hope they end up with more championship rings than I do. So
I hope so too. And for people who don't understand that, for us older school Warriors fans and how tortured we were for decades, Bill Simmons wrote just a masterful column back in, I believe, 2012. It's not hard to find. It was when he was writing for Grantland. Just look it up. It's just, he's talking about the Golden State Warriors.
64 things that, that the Warriors had to endure to get to the heights of
I respect Simmons for that column so much, because he really nailed everything. And I love Simmons personally, man. I've listened to very few podcasts. His is one of them. I just have two gripes against him. One being that I really do think he needs to make things right with Rick Barry. He defamed him. I mean, he just defamed him on two different occasions, and make it right, Bill. Bring Rick on your show and get his side of the story. And then if you realize that what you've written is wrong and a lie, like it blatantly is in your book, just apologize, man. Just be a man about it. And then, and then this whole season, he has just disrespected the Warriors so much. He even on his last show, to hear him tortured was music to my ears. But at the same time, like him and his colleague both said, like this Warriors team doesn't look like a championship team. And I'm sorry, I wholeheartedly disagree. This is very much a championship team. The only thing that looks different about it is they don't have this imposing, dominating center on the roster. But Kevon Looney is doing a fine job in that position and then some. And I'm sorry, but this team is championship through and through. They got the metal, they got the talent. And Brian, you brought up 2016 as this memory and moment that tortures all of us who love the Warriors. There is one bright side that came from that, though, which is, and it goes with anything in life where, failures are only failures if you don't take a lesson from it. And I think the Warriors learn from that series not to take your opponent lightly ever again, no matter where you are in the series. And so as the Warriors enter this game 6 of the Garden, those memories are still very fresh in their minds. And I don't think they want to rehash that and face a potential game 7 in in San Francisco, where again, anything could happen. So, I'm not going to go so far as to predict the Warriors going to win game 6. I like to save my predictions for when I'm feeling confident about it, but I do think they will win. I don't know. This is where, my loyalty to the team is stepping in, and I just cannot be that bold and say they're going to win just because I do respect the Celtics as well. But my brain is telling me they're going to do it. My heart is just, it's 2016 destroyed us, man. There's a scar there permanently from that. And so until they finish the job, my heart's constantly telling me, I don't know. Just play it safe. But my brain is telling me they're going to win game 7 or game 6. And then Stephen Curry, keep wearing those purple shoes. There's something going on there. Talking about good juju. I don't know if you've been following that. They're 4-0 when he wears those purple shoes. So I'm guessing he's going to be putting those on again in game 6. Any last comments? Any last thoughts as the Warriors go into game 6 with a chance to win their 4th world title in 8 years?
In fact, I do. And I'll make this quick.
Oh, I can't hear you. Did you mute yourself?
Going. Oh, 1 second. Let me. Let's see.
As Brian tries to figure out what's going on with his audio.
Can you hear me now?
No, I still cannot hear you. There is a small possibility you might have to just leave and come right back, Brian. Just close the window, click on the link I emailed you, and just come right back. Every once in a while, audio issues are resolved there. Oh, he came right back. Let's see if he's working now. Talk to me, Brian.
Oh, now I can't hear you.
But I can hear you.
Give me 1 minute. I'll come right back.
All right, sounds good. Okay, so Brian Witt's got to figure that technical issue out real fast. And again, I really do hope Brian, by the way, does create his own Substack. What a platform that is for independent journalists who have already established themselves and have earned the credibility to be independent. Because I really think if Brian Witt starts writing columns, a lot of people, myself included, are going to gobble that up. There's only a few people on this planet whose writing I read. When it comes to sports and the Warriors, Conor Letourneau is one of them. I think he is a masterful journalist covering this team. And like I said, Brian Witt, when he was writing columns for NBC Sports Bay Area, I would read those. I respected those tremendously. Like Monty Poole, when he writes, I love to read his content. Like I said, there's very few, but Brian, and there, hopefully we got him back. I hope he creates a Substack. Do we have
you? Hear me now?
I hear you. Can you hear me?
Cool. I hear you. Sorry about that. Yes.
It's okay. Go ahead. It's okay. We're all good. Finish up your thought. What do you think is going to happen for your final game 6 prognostication, and just any final thoughts or words as the Warriors pursue their what will hopefully be by the end of tomorrow night, their 4th world title in 8 years?
Yeah. So really quickly, I just want to address Brian Windhorst's comments about the Warriors game 5 win. on the broadcast after the game, as many people have now found out or watched, he referred to the Warriors win as a quote checkbook win because of basically the role that Andrew Wiggins played in it, and the fact that Andrew Wiggins makes $30 million and that the Warriors total payroll, including luxury tax, is the most in the league, and somehow that has created an unfair. He said it's not a level playing field. To which I would say, how? I really cannot believe that he actually went on Bay Area radio today and kind of stood by it. Let me just put it point blank. The Warriors have not done anything that other teams can't do. There's a salary cap, there's a luxury tax, there are penalties that are enforced for having high team salaries that are punitive. The Warriors, Joe Lacob is not even among the 20 richest NBA owners. The Warriors built their own arena through private funding. They drafted their dynastic core, all of them, have now added to that with future members of this hopeful dynastic core in Jordan Poole, and then we'll see what becomes of the teenagers. They didn't. It's not as if they were the only ones able to trade for what was believed to be arguably the worst contract in the NBA at the time when the Warriors traded for Andrew Wiggins. It's just it's a purely absurd comment that is not based in logic. And really, to me, it just seems like sour grapes.
It does.
Brian
exactly
Witt is a great reporter, but I do think it's worth noting that, he covered the Cavs for a long time. He covered LeBron in high school before that.
Correct.
Having spent a lot of time around those Warriors Cavs series, I can just confidently say that he and I were pulling for different teams in 2015, and so I think that has something to do with it. But the fact of the matter is that only once in the last 10 years has the team with the highest payroll won the championship. And do you know what team that was?
Golden State Warriors?
The 2016 Cavs.
Oh,
no.
Oh, look at you. Look at you stumping me. Bravo, Brian. Incredible.
So,
incredible.
It's just, and he said that he was actually complimenting the Warriors.
I heard that this morning. I heard that too. It's insane.
But if you go back and listen, he might have been complimenting the ownership, but he wasn't complimenting Andrew Wiggins or
it was a backhanded compliment, Brian. It was very backhanded.
I mean, Andrew Wiggins just had the greatest game of his life, and you try to tear away at it by saying, "Oh, it wasn't as good as it was because the Warriors it's not a level playing field." Come on.
No, you're absolutely right, man.
I just want to say that he still thinks that the Celtics are the better team in the series. So how is it not a level playing field? And I'll just leave it at that.
I think you said it perfectly. You said it perfectly, Brian. This is the same individual that was saying that Luka Doncic almost single-handedly would beat the Warriors as well. So I don't take those comments seriously. I don't see how you can. And just to add to that, the only way a team can have a payroll this high is if you draft as well as the Warriors have, because all that talent is homegrown. So these are contracts, max contracts given to homegrown talent who have been with the team as long as they have. And even Andrew Wiggins, again, when you trace his history back, that history goes back to drafted talent, Harrison Barnes. That salary slot just turned into Kevin Durant, who turned into D'Angelo Russell, who turned into Andrew Wiggins. It is a sour grapes. There's a lot of envy out there in terms of the Warriors' success. It's the ugly side of human nature, and yeah, you're right. What you said was very astute. I think you said it eloquently. It's great call.
We'll leave it at that. We got a big game 6 to focus on. I think it's going to be a great game. I think the Warriors are going to show up. We'll see if that's enough. If they need to come out with the same sort of defensive intensity that they did in Game 5. If they do that, I think they'll put themselves in a position where they'll have a chance to win it at the end. So
I wholeheartedly
I'm excited.
agree.
I'm stressed.
Yeah, me too, man. I'm pumped. And I really think as long as just Steve Kerr, do not forget about your bench. Gary Payton II got you here. Even Nemanja Bjelica, give him those 10 minutes. And then I just really think Stephen Curry sees the significance of this game. He's going to have a solid performance. No chance in hell he's going 0 for 9 from 3 again. And then Game 6 Klay, the man, the myth, the legend, I think is going to continue. The mystique,
that would be quite the poetic ending to the season, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
If Klay puts it
and
away.
Game 6, and Game 6 Clay's never been put in a position to win a championship. So I'm particularly excited to see this. I'm excited, man. I'm very excited. I guess technically he has back in 2015, but that Game 6 Klay didn't really emerge at that point yet. So yeah, we'll see, man. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Like I said, let's hope for a great Game 6, and let's hope that when we reconvene, we'll reconvene with the Golden State Warriors winning their 4th world title in 8 years. Brian, I can't thank you enough for all the contributions you've been doing, and you're going to continue doing. As long as you want to come on the show, the door is always open for you. You can follow Brian Witt on Twitter at Witnessed with an extra T in there. You can follow me, Cyrus Saatsaz, on Twitter at Dog Surf Roadshow, and this program on Twitter at Locked On Dubs. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, everyone. Later.
Thanks for